welcome to YouTube and Twitter universe here on the Williams Show on Investigator News 2. Now that we've had Alias show earlier, and Miss Meeky and I have run through the dog park and run through the flowers. I guess we'll all need to have nicknames, so I don't know. After running through all those sunflowers, I'm going to have to call myself Green Bean. I'm a little bit pained. Miss Meeky could just be Miss Meeky. She likes to dominate at the dog park. So anyway, for all the fun and stuff, this is the 21st day of August here in the year of Lord 2023, and we hope everybody feels welcomed to be here with us and to give us a little bit of news. So, why not buy an Air Force? I mean, it's kind of what Ukraine's doing. Anyway, the Ukraine war, my first part of the story is we're not getting any information that's real out of that space right now. I tried to look for some honest reporting, and I just got a big blast of propaganda from one side or a big blast of propaganda from the other. It's a complete joke as far as information coming out of there. But we did see a thing on video this weekend where Zelensky had a crowd, and he in Kyiv, Ukraine, and he was giving a speech and saying that the war that they were fighting with Russia would be won. And at the same time, we have NATO voices now that are saying that their desire is that the war would get over and that they would like this thing to come to an end. And they're not so excited right now. And at the same time, Jake Sullivan saying that the 61 F-16s that will be coming from the Netherlands and from Denmark, those nice new fighter jets that are all timed out, is going to make a remarkable difference. And in the hands of the considerably skilled, acrylic pilots flying in English jets, it's going to be a kind of a high-pressure environment, I would say. But, hey, I don't know. I worked on it for a lot of years, and what I do know is that bird has a really rough ride when you're running TFR, terrain following radar. It will beat you to death. Anyway, good luck, guys. Anyhow, so we're going to rename Jacob Sullivan, Jake Flake, and Victoria Newland, Vicky Oltland, I guess, to go along with Green Bean here on the Williams Show. All right, that's kind of our first two little stories going on.
William, we do have Karen asked if we were going to touch on the crash on the moon.
Crash on the moon. No, I didn't go to the crash on the moon, but I have a moon lander, somebody who went to the moon, that's worried about aliens. How's that? So I got a little moon something or other, but I haven't looked at crashing Russian garbage on the moon or something, or Chinese. Anyway, I will look into it for Wednesday. Here's a big blast I saw this weekend. Turns out that the District of Columbia commanders will be backing the Austrian company named Anheuser-Busch's Bud Light. So, DC commanders, what do they play? Did they like change your name or something? That's kind of like a nickname, isn't it? All right. Turns out that the Department of Justice, when they were going after Hunter Biden during the Hunter Biden probe, they moved it to the hands of the special counsel, Mr. David Weiss. And it turns out that Mr. Weiss was close to letting Biden off the hook earlier this year, but the IRS whistleblowers made him change his mind that it would be a little too politically hot to do that. And besides, Weiss worked alongside Hunter's brother, Bo. They worked together back in 2010. So that's quite a sordid affair there. Politics, I guess, makes strange bedfellows. I wonder if they've been running through the posies. Anyway, Weiss claimed that lawyers allowed to put the president on the witness stand if Hunter Biden went to court, and that would cause a constitutional crisis. So it's a separation of powers crisis? I don't get it. If the president is the chief law enforcement officer and he's in a court, can't a chief of police be a witness in a court? It's logic, it's the thing that always gets me in trouble. So after the IRS whistleblowers made accounts of how they were sidelined while trying to conduct their normal investigation, that Hunter was receiving preferential treatment with regards to their office with respect to the politics in their office. So, yeah, they were upset, the IRS whistleblowers. And then the government tried to say they weren't whistleblowers and didn't have whistleblower protection. So that was story number 3. Story number 4. Putin and China are ready to add the most number of nations into BRICS, Common Economic Community, ever. And how does Europe feel about being left out in the cold? Because now they're going to be forced to buy fuel, oil, gasoline, natural gas with BRICS currency. And, the Western nations aren't going to be friendly allowed into BRICS because, they're NATO, right? You're NATO, no BRICS. Okay. What's BRICS? BRICS is an economic community that's developing their own currency, okay? It stands for Brazil, India, China, South Africa. I can't remember what the R was, Ellie. Russia.
Russia. We go. Russia.
So it was Russia. So that's the beginning of the BRICS group. And now there's 150 nations that want in. Speaking of banking and economics, it turns out that Evergrande in Beijing has, it's a Beijing-based real estate developer in China, and they sell real estate there. And it turns out that Evergrande, the developer from China, has filed for bankruptcy in New York City in federal court. Anyone want to buy some, condos in the greater Beijing area? I think it'd be bad for us, and it's bad for the Chinese people in general to even try to do business there.
William, Karen's asking, and I think I can even answer this one for her. with these UFO hearings, say that there's evidence that there is something strange on the moon. Could it be that we blew it up? Well, Karen, Apollo 16, I believe. Um, the the astronaut there, he was on Glenn Beck, and this whole thing with aliens or um, he says demons and portals. And that's kind of where I've been leaning. I know I think I briefly talked to William about this, but um, when we look at Skinwalker Ranch, they're looking at portals. Now, mind you, if you're an atheist, that's okay. But for Christians, um, if you look into a lot of the biblical teachings, you'll see that the fallen angels, they were given the heavens, not heaven, the heavens, which would be space, earth, and below. And they can become anything they want. They can do whatever they want. They can go as fast as they want. They can change into anything they want except for a human. So I'm just going to stick with that. And Karen, watch Glenn Beck. It was this week, and he talks to one of the astronauts. It's a hour-long um, um, hour-long show, but it's very informative. And then there's a very short clip that's out there too. William, did you want to say anything on that?
Yeah. So what I've got is, according to Glenn Beck, there's a moon landing veteran. That's what his title was on his show for this moon landing veteran. We used to call those guys astronauts, right? Now they're moon landing veterans. Anyway, why is Glenn even doing this now?
I think because there's so much out there, William. I think that let's see.
I just want to say that would Rush Limbaugh right now during the Republican primary be picking his nose and chasing aliens from space right now? Seriously?
You know what I think it is? It's a distraction.
It is.
It's a big distraction.
I respect a lot of the work that Glenn's done, okay? But we need to get behind the leading contender for the Republican presidency, right?
William, you talk about the presidency. Now, I talked to a friend of mine over the weekend, and she has said that I like to get the other side of what they're thinking, and she had told me that Trump is he has done. It's almost listening to what we're hearing of what Joe Biden did. That he's doing business in China and Russia, and that he is done treason. He's accepted money from Russia.
Well, look, he's built things everywhere, right?
Well, my whole thing is he had hotels in Beijing.
That's property.
Yeah. So, yeah. And I agreed with her. I told her, yes. I said, yes, he does have businesses over there. But he sold them. He sold them out because he had to. And he took a loss. He did it in Russia. He did it over in a lot of different countries. And when I told her that, she said,
in Moscow.
And so get this, she said, and he had taken bribes and money from Russia.
No, bribes is when you get something that, when you're getting money, selling your the nation's sovereignty. He wasn't selling the nation's sovereignty. He was selling a product. It's called real estate.
Mm-hmm.
It's what he does. He builds things and he sells them. He's just like some guy that would go out and build a new grocery store, get the business going, and then sell it. It's what he does. That's a business. But taking money for nothing but favor, that's a completely different thing. That's bribery.
Yeah.
You know.
So anyway, we're gonna move on out of aliens
I think
onto.
that Glenn needs to, pull the little finger out of his nose, the microphone out of his tail feathers, and do some investigating. Like, really investigate. What's that gal's name?
Fannie Willis.
Fannie Willis.
Yes.
She's one of the religious zealots.
William, I've already called her office and asked.
She's one of the horde.
I called her office and I said, "Are you? Is this an office that accepted money from any of the Soros foundations?" And they hung up on me.
Well, think about that.
So then I called one of the top senators that's going after her, for Stacey Abrams and a few others, and I told him about this, and he said the same thing. Huh? How odd is that? So you got to wonder, because we've got so many. I mean, we even got ties from DC, New York, even the gentleman up in was it New York or DC that went after him on the last one?
Yeah, it was that. Yeah, I remember who the guy was. I can't remember his name.
But he has also been Soros paid. Now, that's probably going to get me a strike. I don't know. But it's
well, they're trying to do it in the state courts, because in the federal court that they indicted him on, they brought a grand jury from the city of New York, right, and transferred it down to Florida. The entire group of people, and indicted him in Florida when they should have indicted him in New York. If they had a grand jury from New York, they should have indicted him in New York. But they didn't. They hauled it all the way down to Florida because they wanted to, I don't know, because they couldn't get an indictment in the city of New York, so they changed it, right? Well, when you do that, you kind of break. You can have a change of venue, but you can't have a change of venue for the jurors. When have you ever heard of a juror change of venue?
Yeah.
That's, talk about a mess. Anyway, the judge in the case is now looking into that, and so, boom, here comes something from Georgia, and she really needs to be looked at. I mean, what we had with the Democrats.
Well, she's using it, and she's getting many.
We had the spy that had the name Fang. That was like viral. Now we've got Fanny, and
now she's using it as a campaign strategy, and she's bringing in millions of dollars.
I'll bet. Yeah. Okay. So, shall we move on?
Yeah.
So, we were talking about Chinese banking and economics and the mess they were having there at Evergrande, kind of a floating mess, right? It turns out, speaking of floating away, this weekend. I saw videos of automobiles being swept away, not just automobiles. And they've been flooded for over a week now. But electric cars, they can't get out of the way of the water. So, yay, buy electric and go for a swim. Anyway, so a lot of the cities in China are just drowning right now. And Beijing did the right thing, and of course made sure that Beijing didn't get a little bit of water, but all the rest of the countryside is pretty much soaked. It's a mess, and they're having to deal with that over the weekend. I thought we should talk about that a little bit. Yeah, floating electric vehicles. That's what I want. I want to be sitting on a battery of however many kilojoules, in a swimming pool. That works for me. Oh, I've got a song of the day, Ellie.
Yeah.
What do you think? This is by Violet Orlandi.
Time.
She's kind of a twisted sister from Brazil, like Bricks, right? And because we've got this new Democrat religion going on that I'm going to talk about in a little bit, let's make the song "Take Me to Church" by Violet Orlandi. That'll be the song of our day. So, turns out, for all you folks out there in YouTube and Twitter land, is it YouTube and Twitter land or YouTube and Twitter universe, Ellie?
I don't know, but I added our channel on to Instagram this weekend.
Posse? Maybe it's the Investigator News Posse.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But William, I did add us to Instagram this weekend. So now we're on Instagram.
Oh, I'm a hot topic then, right?
I'm not sorry, folks. I'm not going to do TikTok. I'm a conspiracy theorist, and TikTok is owned by China, and I'm going to stick to Instagram. So we're on Instagram, Rumble, Facebook, and YouTube now.
Wow, I'm getting popular.
Yeah.
So, Green Bean's out here in his fedora, and it turns out that our very good friends over there in CCP land, China, arrested another of its party for spying for, guess who? The CIA here in the United States. Don't you remember when Wall Street said that China was our very, very good trading partner and that they would never do us wrong? I remember when Kramer was telling us back in the 90s that communists would never let business be done wrong in China, and that the United States could always trust them because of our financial connections, and because they wanted to be our very good business friends. Sure, Kramer, that worked out real well. Anyway, now we've got the BRICS fiasco. Look, so Kramer had some good trading advice, a lot of good trading advice, but China unfortunately didn't turn out to be one of them. Anyhow, we've got a bunch of U.S. companies now trying to pull back out of China, and that's hard to kind of sell in a market where they're going into bankruptcy. So yeah, it turned out to be a real good idea, potentially good idea. So moving on, speaking of ideas, China, has decided, according to our spatial intelligence, is building its 7th runway on another island. So this will be island number 7. But
is this the one they built, William?
Pardon?
Is this the recent one they built?
Well, this is ongoing right now. They're building it as we're talking.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out it's in a disputed economic zone between Taiwan and another country as well. So I don't know if it's Japan or if it's Korea, but South Korea. But yeah, they're building it right on disputed land there. Remember where I told you they would want to do deep water injection?
Yeah.
Well, if you can't take Taiwan, guess where you're going to park it? Anyway, so that's going on at the very same time, right? Remember, we were going through this whole pressure thing that they were about to invade. They were sending airplanes. They were making threats. They were running into boats. They were doing all the things that they do. And then suddenly, they're having negotiations for BRICS someplace else. All that other stuff just kind of melted away. And while we're looking away to South Africa and the BRICS and losing the dollar in the world, right? They're building an island. So it's a bait. The whole BRICS thing is a bit of a bait and switch. But that's how China does things, is they put a lot of directed pressure and then they relieve it and give you something to look at far away while they're, run out and build a runway trying to stab, Japan, Korea, and Taiwan in the back, right? It's kind of what they do. They like to stab you in the back while they've got your
Now, aren't they doing monetary things though?
Where they've got your attention just misdirected someplace, right?
Well, now with BRICS, they had that great big summit, and it was to change currency from the dollar to what China wants.
Of course, it's always what China wants. China wants this, China wants that, China's upset. China's always upset. Anyway, that's just a big scam. They're using the BRICS thing so they can scam another island up.
William,
this one was already pre-existing.
So, I just want to say real quick and I know this is moving to the Middle East, but the Iranian people, Pakistan people, I know they're protesting, and I know that they really think that their country is great. But when you look at Afghanistan, Pakistan, Iran, if the people don't uprise, if they just go along and think everything's fine, because I really appreciate those countries, I really do, and the people. But if they're going through the motions like we are, where we just ignore what our governments are doing, even Saudi Arabia, and if we don't,
but they're not rounding us up and torturing us in
not yet.
Stations. They're not electrocuting us to death. They're not shoving splinters up underneath our toenails. They're not doing stuff like that here in the United States, but they are doing stuff like that in Pakistan, and they are doing stuff like that in Iran.
Yeah.
And
I got a chance to.
Nobody's going to come and save you from your own government.
No.
If you want your government gone, you all have to get together and storm the government. You just have, hate to say it, but if you want a change in your country, you're the change.
Because now look at Brazil, and that's South America. Brazil is part of BRIC, and they are even supporting pulling away from the dollar to go to something else. But now they're up and coming. If they're doing so well, how my thing in my mind is, then why would the migrants be coming here? Why don't they just trek over to Brazil where everything's fine? The whole thing is dictatorship and fascism, Marxism. I don't know. I'll let you go on, William. I'm sorry.
I'll get to that. So Iran says that they've detected an F-35 on radar now, Ellie.
Mm-hmm. We gave what Iran 2 billion for the hostages,
so
and we haven't gotten our hostages.
If their air defense has detected an F-35, why didn't they shoot it down?
Japan?
No, in Iran.
Oh, in Iran. Okay.
Yeah. Well, they detected. Why didn't they shoot it down? Because they couldn't.
Why?
So it's just a non-story. It's just Iran trying to keep their, just like North Korea always badgering the rest of the world. Now, here's something I ran in that was very interesting. Now, remember on Maui, Lahaina, where they had the fire, right?
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't any water in the fire hydrants. And we're finding out why that is right now. And it turns out that there's a long-held belief by the islanders, and people are calling it, you know how they call us neo conservatives or whatever, or always in the news they use neo before they name somebody or down. Anyway, give a group a name. Anyway, these islanders have a pagan religion that's all about the water god. And so who controls the water is a big thing there. And so what has happened is, you know how the Democrats, they don't put people in office that are necessarily qualified, right?
Right.
Because they believe in patronage at all costs. Okay, so you've got somebody that does you and keeps doing your a favor to the party. You get put into an office. Well, that's the same thing that goes along in state offices as well. And Hawaii is very, very liberal.
Mm-hmm.
And
they don't like the United States necessarily.
Well, they want to have their own reservation, if you want to call it that. They want to have control over their island, but they don't have a way to defend it. So if the United States leaves, they'll be Chinese. They're living in a delusion world.
Now, check this out, William. Dutchens brought this up. There's kind of a connection between Maui and Southern California. Now, Maui, before the hurricane was hit, they had a fire, and it sparked fires.
Yeah, they had a fire from the winds, and then it was put out by the rain.
Right. Now in San Diego, Ojai, they had a fire right before the storms hit. And both were right next to RAD, where they like a weather control system, like within 50 to 100 miles.
RAD. Called NexRAD.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just something that Dutchson said today. if anybody wants to watch it. But go ahead, go on. I don't mean to interrupt.
So the water is, so they control the water on the island, right? Because it's a spiritual thing for them. But here's what I don't get. Every place I've been in the United States, the fire mains always have water in them. You don't have to go to somebody and ask for water, right, to get a, because lives are more important than property. You don't negotiate when it comes to saving lives. They've lost their way. And I feel that the Democrat Party has actually become a religion, a pagan religion, if you will. And they don't like Christians, by the way. They've turned the FBI loose on the Catholic Church, and if they've turned them loose on the Catholic Church, you know they've turned them loose on all the rest of the churches too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it just happens that we have like 50% Catholics in the country, so that's a big deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
And you know the majority of the Catholics are Mexican Americans, Chicanos, Spanish.
Hispanic population.
Hispanic, yeah.
Because when the Spaniards came through, the Spanish army came through, they brought priests with them. And they always converted whoever they came across to Catholicism. So if you speak Spanish, right, chances are you're Catholic. I'm okay with that. If they're Catholic, that's just the way you're born. You're born into the Catholic Church.
I was born Catholic, but I was lucky enough to have a pastor or a priest that told me in my teens that the Catholic Church was basically rituals, and that if I wanted to seek out Christ, that I would have to go to another church.
They believe they're rituals that have come all the way down from Christ, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's Christians. Anyway, I think that this religion is about the thing they don't talk about, right? The quiet thing.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what they're really doing is like how the Spaniards came into all these lands and then converted them over to Catholicism. What we have is Democrats converting people over to paganism so that they can have their pagan god as the ruling on the throne of the one world order. What do you think about that, Ellie?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And because almost none of them will step out. They all act in lockstep. It's not like they allow each other to choose. If you don't take the entire line that's going on in the party, then you're either in or you're out, but you can't be both, right? You can't be independent. And that's, when you have a situation like that, that's almost like a cult. And we need to start looking at the Democratic Party not as a party, but as a religion. And why I bring that up is because I don't think we should have a state religion. You know, Obama, he tended to like the religions of the
Muslims,
East, right?
Muslims.
Sure. You
And he
like
brought a lot of them
Muslims.
over. And, you know, the thing with that is they moved into Dearborn, Michigan. And then even now, they are upset at the administration for trying to take out religions.
Well, we're supposed the government's supposed to be religiously neutral, all right? And so we shouldn't have a religion running the government. We wouldn't bring. Would you have the Mormons run the government for you?
Oh, it's scary.
Would you have Catholics run the government for you?
Scary.
Would you have Protestant church run the government for
I
you?
would be okay with the Catholics until they got the telescope Lucifer and all the skulls with this Pope, and then I thought he was getting a little weird. So
Yeah, but anyway, the point is there shouldn't be a religion. Now, when you talk about paganism, paganism isn't a religion where you go to church. It's where you meet people, where you meet them, and it's more of a out in nature kind of thing. It's an underground church. And I think what's going on in the Democratic Party is they want to be recognized, right, as part of what they believe. That's why they keep bringing up all these different groups that are part of their religion.
mm-hmm.
And trying to foist them on us, because it's not about rights. It's about demanding that their religion be front and center. And I believe that's what this presidency is all about. When we talk about Jake Sullivan, you know, he's just one of the priests, right, of the New World Order, so their pagan New One World Order. Anyway, because if you remember back, Daddy Bush was tapped to be a bonesman. So was his son, and so was John Kerry. They were all skull and bones, right? That's pagan. That's not Christian, right? So I think what we have here is an underground religion trying to express itself. Anyway, this kind of explains why they didn't get the water released to the fire hydrants so the fire department could fight the fires in Lahaina, is because they were so busy being correct with their religion that they forgot to ensure the safety of the people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The point is, religion doesn't care about people. Doesn't care about Americans that they leave behind enemy lines in Afghanistan, right?
Yeah.
Never happened before. We always extract our people. But now we have this religion that says, oh, you're just one of the bunch, right? So we can throw you away just like all the other countries throw away their people. We're just one of the group. We don't have any manifest destiny. We don't have any exceptionalism. We don't have any special cultural significance. We're just, we're mud. We're just part of the earth. We're part of Gaia. This is just pagan. And so while they were doing that in Lahaina, they managed to not get their fire hydrants full of water because they were too busy worshiping with it. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is a religion where they have to control the water, they have to control the soil, they have to control the sky, right? They have to control the stars. And then they have to have their one world order because they have to have the one God on the throne, right? So this and it makes sense. Look, Democrats hate Israel. Israel's not pagan. They love the Palestinians. Why? Guess what? Even though that they're Islamic, for the most part, they're pagan Islamic. The Palestinians are really the Philistines. They just changed the name of it, and Philistines were initially pagan. So yeah, we're having this religion foisted on us, and nobody's paying attention. Okay, and then we've got people coming across the border now from 150 other nations, which makes sense. You know, you've got about 150 that want into BRICS, and you got about 150 nations where people want to bail and head for the United States. So it's kind of a, I don't know, different. Anyway, but we have something special that happened on the border. Something new. We've had cartel members coming across the border. Okay, this is cross-border actions. Armed. They're armored up. They're wearing plates. Okay. So they got Kevlar. They're wearing plates, and they're packing fully automatic weapons into the United States. That exceeds the description for the United States Border Patrol. That's a military issue.
Yeah.
Automatic weapons with armored up people in the United States that are illegal, and those automatic weapons aren't licensed, right? That's a military issue. That's not even law enforcement anymore. That's a cross-border incursion. And we're not hearing anything about this in the news.
Mm-hmm.
This is serious. So anybody out there in Marine land and U.S. Army land, remember that your first job is to protect the nation. You swore an oath. Okay. So we don't just have a migration. Once you have automatic weapons coming across with armored up people, that's an invasion.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reason, you know, El Toro in Yuma. El Toro is a Marine air base in Yuma, Arizona, that's right on the border. You know why they put the Marines right on the border? Because we fought battles there in the past. And if you open up automatic weapons on a Marine, the Marines will return fire. So that's why that base is there. You're not going to ever have a situation where you open up automatic weapons on a group of Marines and not have the Marines chase you right down, because they are in their DNA. They're set up to chase bullets and eliminate the enemy. And that's why that's there. Well, so that we don't have those kind of incursions, but we're having them. And the government needs to deal with it. Okay. Oh, so Andrew Clavin has come out with the title of his program, 3 Cheers for Biden, Bidenomics. And you know what I think about Bidenomics, don't you, Ellie?
Mm. Oh, I don't even care much for it.
For me, it's kind of like what we call in the military a cluster blank blank. Anyway, yeah.
Now, Biden
I
is
mean,
selling unused parts of Trump's border wall. Abbott's trying to buy it up. Did you hear about that?
well, that's U.S. government property, so the government can dispose of it however they choose, based on the directives from Congress. There's military surplus all the time, so I'm sure that, and government surplus that they sell all the time. Remember those FEMA trailers? They became government surplus.
Yeah.
So you got steel sitting out there on the border. What do you think they're gonna do eventually?
Yeah.
So if I was the governor of Texas and I had the problem that Texas has right now, yeah, I'd want to buy them and put them up.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's Andrew Clavin on the economy. It's not doing really good right now, and I think everybody knows it. So Bidenomics is a fairy tale. There's something I've noticed, and what? So why is the GOP National Committee silent on this Fannie Willis thing? They haven't said anything, have they? If it had been any other candidate, Republican candidate, they'd blown a fuse, and they haven't even said anything against it. The other thing, we've got the primaries going on, and the Republican National Committee hasn't come out with any kind of a plan or even a platform that they want to run on. We don't know what they're running for. They're only telling us what they're running against. This doesn't make any sense in a cycle like we're going through. You know, give Obama a bad time, give Clinton's a bad time. Remember, Clinton's had it's the economy, stupid, right? And you had Obama with change that you can believe in, right? So they at least had a slogan. What's the Republican slogan? What are they waiting for? This doesn't make sense. I don't think Republicans want to win. You know, it's for me, it's like deafening. Remember that show that it was a movie called Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and the teacher's calling for Ferris Bueller, Ferris. Anybody there? You know, that's what I feel like the Republicans are. They become the new Ferris Bueller. They're like absent except for some people running for office, but the National Committee is disengaged. And keep in mind that the Republican National Committee gets the vast quantities, just like the Democratic National Committee, of the money that can't be just sent directly to a candidate. So then people donate to the party, right? So the big money is actually at the party, and our party's not saying anything. It's not throwing its weight around. And that makes no sense. And then I was going to go on to Glenn Beck talking about our moon landing. And of course, we need Glenn Beck to be doing a Rush Limbaugh right now. If he's going to be conservative, that's what we need. We don't need space ponies when we've got a competing economic system being ratified in South Africa, and air runways being built on Taiwan soil.
Yeah. I think it's a
Where are
diversion.
they?
I think the whole space thing is to keep us from looking at what China's doing with Taiwan.
They just want to keep us from looking at anything that's most important for us right now. I'm
Right.
not saying that dealing with aliens or whatever isn't important in the pantheon of things that human beings consider, right? I'm just saying not now. Let's deal with the things that we can touch right now, brick and mortar, right? And then we'll do the airy stuff like religion, right? We can do that in slower times, but right now isn't the time for that. The Democrats are they're not wasting their time. They're on a whole scale destruction process trying to destroy the Republican Party. The Republican Party's not saying anything.
No.
Anyway, so yeah, is the Republican Party afraid that they're dealing with not a party but a religious horde? Is that why they're so quiet? Do they actually know what's going on and haven't told us? All right, so that's an idea that I had. And then we've got, if in fact that's a religion, we should see some pretty big blowout here on All Hallows Eve come this October, right? If you think about it, we've got, what, in the Ukraine-Russian war, 300,000 dead. Not wounded, just the dead. 300,000 in a year. And we've got, what, 100,000 here in the United States poisoned by cartels with drugs. That's pretty good sacrifice, I'd say. I think they're busy as hell. I think that's why we're not down on the border. Because what they're doing looks like what a religion would do, not like what a political party would do.
I think there's too many old ones in there. The younger ones seem to be reacting, but the older Republicans are just. I've been saying for a long time
Right.
we need to replace them.
Yeah, so, yeah. And look, we've got a president that's got his very own pen name, right? And you'd think it'd be
Yeah,
like
President, was it Peters? Robert Peters?
because he wanted to be Irish, right? He wants to be from Ireland. That was a big deal for him. And but it turns out, it's not just a pen name. He's not writing a book. He's got to have that special business name, an alias for his alias businesses. What do they call those things? Limited liability LLCs. Yeah, and so that's a disaster. Yeah, this is secrecy. The problem we're having right now in the government is they don't want to be open to scrutiny through what was the name of Freedom of Information Act, right?
Yeah, but why didn't he go foundations like Clinton's, Bush, and Obama, where they went foundation to funnel their money? He did aliases.
The foundations act just like the religion too. They're like, I don't know, satellite financial congregations. Do we call them that?
I think too many of them been frozen.
This weekend, some people were out helping seals, which I thought was a great idea, right? But just because you're helping seals doesn't make you an ocean conservancy project. It makes you people who help seals, right? That's what they're doing, is they're promoting these ideas that are just, they're fictitious, or for them that it's not fictitious, but it's a facade for the rest of the world, so that we don't approach their religion, so that they can keep their religion secret while they dominate the government with their religion. So Obama's religion failed, and so they're bringing in this, right?
Yep.
Makes sense. Okay, and so not just picking on Jose Biden, but
Peters.
listen, I agree with Mark
Mr.
Levin.
Peters or
It's time
Mr.
for,
Ware, beware.
What?
Mr. Peters or Mr. Ware, beware. JB Ware, something like that.
Oh yeah, that's the name, yeah. So
I'd rather go run through the sunflowers at this point.
I thought it would have sounded more Irish, but you know. But I agree with Mark Levin on that. He just came out with today that it's time for McConnell to step aside. If he doesn't step aside, what people are going to remember him for is just being, Mitch.
Yeah.
Right.
That stare. Everybody knows him for the stare. Oh, he froze and he was staring and he needs to be out and he's crooked. But when you ask them what he's crooked for, they don't know.
Yeah, he's throwing away his good name though.
Yep.
By hanging on like that. And I agree with Mark Levin. It's time for him to step away because he's the ramrod that pushes the DNC, and the DNC is, I don't know, in Michigan someplace, up near Detroit, in a bunker or something. I don't know. We're not seeing anybody. So anyway, that's kind of the end of my program. That's the news stories I was able to kind of tease out. I'll look into the space thing for Karen and have a look at what the tech is and try to give her an honest assessment. But I think that the important stuff right now is we need to not let them bring in the digital currency and not ESGS into our homes and use our homes for our prisons and take away our ability to move around and and consume whatever it is we want to consume at the grocery store, or be able to get medication, or be able to see certain doctors. I don't think banks should be in control of that, and a digital currency will make that happen. And I don't think we all need to be digitally tagged as well. They know what our ID is. We have a social security number. They have our social security number. They took our blood when we're born, so they've got a DNA sample, right? And they're getting iris scans all the time with these cameras when we're looking into these machines. So they don't need to put a chip in us. They don't need to digitally control us. And if they're headed that way, which there's actually a bill in Congress right now, right? And the Democrats have the majority in the Senate. The only thing that could stop them is the Republicans, right, in the House. But guess what? Even McCarthy right now doesn't want people to be able to see the January 6th tapes.
Yeah.
He's blocking those from being seen. What happened to the freedom of information? That was a big deal. That was like the civil rights of the 60s for us in the 70s. And, you know, we got that, and the Democrats got abortion, right? That was a big deal. But it turns out nobody wants to comply with the law. And, all right. I've been kind of grumpy today, but I hope you all have a great rest of your day. And but this is kind of the news that was out there. It's not like the hard news we're used to getting. It's mostly politics, and it's mostly misdirection from, you know, the Ukraine to right here in politics in the United States, where our money's going, what it's the amount that's going wherever it's going, and what's the driving force in the country right now. And I've kind of tried to tease it apart. But you know, that the guy that had the early warning, that did the early warning in Lahaina, of course, he was put in that position, right? 8 days afterwards, he doesn't show up for 8 days. And he didn't sound the alarm. And they didn't go to the people who could release the water. They should have just took the water and fought the fires, but that would have been against something more important than the people, wouldn't it? So I think this is starting to look a lot more like a religion and a lot less like a political party. And if it's a uniparty, and if they have adherents in the Republican Party, that would make sense as well. So they wouldn't have actually two political parties. You'd have two political parties, and one of them masquerading as not being a part of that religion. This kind of makes sense to me. It's the only way you get from what we've seen to Klaus Schwab, right? But we've seen the directives keep coming and keep coming and keep coming. And Democrats are in lockstep with it, and Republicans have a problem standing up to it. Why? Because they're all in it. We need to get representatives into Congress that are like the majority of us. So that's my thought. I guess we've done enough considering for the day, but if you start hearing these big issues that come on the mainstream media, you can almost guarantee it's misdirection. So propaganda, and I've done my share today, but at least you're getting William's real beliefs. I mean, I'm saying what I think. And I hope you all have a good day. And thank you, Ellie, for the opportunity to bring you what I saw this weekend. All right, goodbye.